Hello there and welcome to the weekly Outside Views report on European politics. To deliver Leopard-type main battle tanks to Ukraine, things could suddenly start to move in this regard. The Federal Defense Minister Christine Lambrecht in Germany does not rule out the delivery of German Leopard-type main battle tanks to Ukraine anymore. The Social Democrat politician emphasized during a visit to the Bundeswehr in Marienberg in Saxony that there has not yet been a decision in the federal government in this regard, though. However, she said, in the times in which we live, we are well advised to always adapt to the respective situation. It is the right approach to rule out nothing. But Germany will not go it alone, she affirms. So the old song there. According to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Poland could set an example by offering Leopard main battle tanks. And Poland and Lithuania could take the appropriate steps. That's what Zelensky told the state broadcaster TVP. Somebody always has to be the role model, he said. This move could help us by having other states follow in the footsteps of Poland and Lithuania. And Lithuania has pledged anti-aircraft guns and ammunition as well. According to Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson, Sweden's accession to NATO is still opposed by Turkey's demands on his country. Turkey has confirmed that we have done what we promised them. That's what Kristersson said at a security and defense conference in Sälen in western Sweden on Sunday. But they also say that they have demands that we cannot and do not want to meet. And now the decision lies with Turkey, he says. But he remains convinced that Turkey will agree to Sweden's accession. We just don't know when. As a member of the Defense Alliance, Sweden is willing, among other things, to take part in NATO's joint missile defense system and in air patrols over the Baltic states, the Black Sea and Iceland. That's what Kristersson said in his speech. Sweden and Finland applied for NATO membership in May 2022 as part of the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine, or because of the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine. Finland's Foreign Minister Pekka Haavisto said at the security conference in Sälen that they would wait for Sweden. We submitted the NATO application together and we will complete the process together, Haavisto said. Sweden is our best friend and partner, nor would it be in Finland's interest to join without Sweden. Sweden and Finland together formed a strategic military unit. NATO member Turkey is blocking the accession of the Nordic countries, citing Sweden's alleged support of terrorist organizations such as the banned Kurdish Workers' Party PKK. The country had made a number of demands as a condition for the ratification of the so-called accession protocols. Among other things, Turkey is demanding a stronger fight against terrorism and the extradition of dozens of people. Shortly before Christmas, Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu said that the implementation of the agreements was not halfway there. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, on the other hand, said at the conference in Sweden on Sunday, I'm sure Turkey will ratify the membership of Sweden and Finland, and I think that should happen as soon as possible. But I don't want to speculate about it when exactly Turkey will do that. Stoltenberg emphasized that the two Nordic countries are already taking part in almost all NATO meetings and are safer than they were before they applied. In addition to Turkey's approval of NATO's northern expansion, Hungary's is still pending. According to media reports, there has been another attack on a district military replacement office in Russia. In the Siberian city of Bratsk, an unknown person is said to have thrown a Molotov cocktail through a window on the first floor of the military commissariat on Monday night. The fire was reportedly extinguished overnight before it could spread to the entire building. The fire area is said to be around 50 square meters, so there were no injuries. Videos on social media believed to be from the scene of the crime show smoke and a contingent of emergency vehicles on the snowy street. The alleged attack comes in a series of attacks on military installations in Russia that have taken place since the beginning of the war of aggression against Ukraine. At least 40 such cases have officially become known since February 24th and 22. District replacement offices, which are used to mobilize Russian soldiers, have often been the target. Reports that the Kremlin is preparing another mobilization could exacerbate the trend. The perpetrators face drastic penalties for attacks on the Russian military infrastructure. Russian President Vladimir Putin recently signed a law that makes any involvement in acts of sabotage punishable by life imprisonment. But the information about the cause of the fire in Bratsk contradicts itself. Initial reports said Russian authorities were looking for an arsonist. According to local media, the local police later said that no attack had taken place. A technical error had caused a cable fire. The Belgian government and the energy company ENGIE have agreed to extend the service life of the two nuclear power plants Tihange 3 and Doel 4 by an additional 10 years. With these decisions, work on the extension of the two youngest nuclear power plants can start tomorrow, said Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo at a press conference on Monday evening. The extension is crucial to ensure security of energy supply over the next 10 years. According to De Croo, half of the Belgian state and half of the operator ENGIE should participate in the project, you know what I mean. The Belgian government had already decided in March of last year that the Tihange 3 reactor near the German border and the Doel 4 reactor near Antwerp should continue to operate until at least the end of 2035. The implementation was still being negotiated with the operator ENGIE. A nuclear phase-out was originally planned for 2025. The Ukraine war and its effects on Belgium and neighboring countries played a role in the decision. According to a statement, the aim is now to put the two reactors back into operation in winter 2026 after the work required for the extension. In Germany, the Belgian nuclear reactors from the 70s and 80s repeatedly sparked debate. Several defects were found in the reactors in the neighboring country, such as dilapidated concrete parts. In the past, the city of Aachen and the federal government have called for the nuclear power plants to be shut down. In Belgium, the nuclear phase-out was actually laid down in law in 2003, but the debate has dragged on for years. 6 reactors are still connected to the grid. A 7th was switched off last year. Contrary to a corresponding announcement from Moscow, the ex-Soviet Republic of Armenia does not want it to make its territory available for exercises of the Russian-led military alliance Organization of the Collective Security Treaty, or CSTO. In the current situation, we do not consider it expedient to conduct CSTO exercises in Armenia, said Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan on Tuesday. Pashinyan initially left his exact motives open. Moscow has repeatedly accused his crisis-ridden country, which is heavily dependent on Russia as a protective power, of inaction in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict region. Particular resentment is caused by the fact that Russian troops stationed in the area are not doing enough to clear the Lakin corridor, which is being blocked by forces from neighboring Azerbaijan. The road corridor is the only connection between Armenia and Nagorno-Karabakh, inhabited by about 120,000 Armenians. Most recently, Yerevan had warned of a collapse in medical care in the region. And according to media reports, food is also becoming scarce. Russia's defense ministry announced just a week and a half ago that the CSTO would hold its indestructible Brotherhood 2023 maneuver in Armenia this year. Other ex-Soviet states such as Belarus and Kazakhstan also belong to the alliance. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov called Pashinyan's announcement a rather new statement. In any case, Armenia is a very close ally and the Russian government will continue the dialogue with Yerevan. At the same time, Peskov acknowledged very complicated problems. Bulgaria wants to postpone the planned closure of its coal-fired power plants by around 12 years to 2038, although this runs counter to the country's EU recovery plan. On Thursday, the parliament in Sofia instructed the government to negotiate with the EU Commission about withdrawing the corresponding obligation. It stipulates that carbon dioxide emissions in the energy industry should be reduced by 40% by the end of 2025 compared to 2019, which is expected to be equivalent to a coal phase-out in 2026. However, employees of coal-fired power plants and coal mines demonstrated in Parliament to postpone the closure of their plants until 2038. They complained that the implementation of the previous goals would endanger energy security and many jobs. The parliamentary decision in favor of the coal-fired power plants finally passed with an overwhelming majority of 187 votes in favor, with only 2 votes against and 9 abstentions. According to industry sources, Bulgaria's coal-fired power plants generate half of the country's total electricity needs in the summer months. During the heating season, it is almost 60%. Most of them have already started implementing projects to diversify the fuel mix and phase out coal, but this cannot be fully achieved within 3 years, according to an open letter from the industry to the state and parliamentary leadership from November 2022. The greenhouse gases, such as CO2 released when gas, oil and coal are burned, are the main reason for global warming and its fatal consequences. That means more and more droughts, heat waves, hurricanes, floods and sea level rise. In order to limit global warming, emissions must be reduced quickly. This was actually agreed by the international community in 2015 with the Paris Climate Protection Agreement. So far, however, no country in the world has been pursuing a policy that is based on the agreement and the 1.5-degree target set out therein. And this concludes this week's video on European politics. Tomorrow I'll be back with the politics of the EU, and I'll see you in this next video. I'll be back.